The ancient powder Amish farmers have used for generations to kill every pest, and why modern exterminators won't tell you about it. Now, before I explain what that powder actually is, I need you to understand something that every pest control company spends millions to keep you from seeing. There's a reason they don't talk about this method. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why, and it's not what you think. Stay tuned, because that answer is worth the wait. If you've ever stood in your kitchen and watched an ant trail march across your counter, or pulled back your mattress and found something moving there, you know that feeling. That moment where you think, I need someone. I need the truck, the uniform, the official. I need to write the check. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that's the only solution. Subscribe to the channel if you're tired of throwing money at problems that keep coming back. And if this resonates with you, drop a comment below telling me your biggest pest frustration. I want to know what brought you here. The business model of modern pest control is actually quite elegant if you think about it from their perspective. $800 a year, sometimes $1,200, sometimes more. But the critical part isn't the price. The critical part is the word yearly, ongoing, perpetual. Every spring, every summer, those ants return. Every autumn, the spiders move in. Winter brings the rodents. The cycle spins. The truck pulls up. Another invoice arrives. Another year. Another decade. Your entire ownership of that house, you're paying a toll, a tax, on property ownership that no one elected you to accept. Now, hold on. This part demands your full attention for a moment. Before we go deeper, I should tell you that our complete guide covering every preservation method, every pest management approach, and every homesteading truth the old communities knew is available in the description and pinned in the comments. That's where you'll find the full signal map of why this powder works and the dozens of other techniques that don't require an annual payment plan. $4. That's the number we're working with here. $4 at a feed store, a garden center, a hardware store. One bag. Diatomaceous earth. The name sounds scientific because it is scientific, but the actual substance is something far simpler. It's ground mineral. Fossilized remains of tiny organisms that lived in oceans millions of years ago. When those creatures died, they accumulated on the ocean floor. Over time, that deposit became rock, then sediment, then, eventually, a soft white ore that miners can extract the way they extract chalk or clay. When you grind that ore fine enough, it becomes powder, flour fine. You can run it through your fingers and feel nothing but smoothness. To the human hand, to human skin, it's as harmless as flour, completely inert, completely safe. You can touch it without gloves. You can breathe around it without fear. The government permits it to be mixed directly into grain that humans eat. That's the level of safety we're discussing. But here's where the story changes completely. Under magnification, those soft particles transform. They're not soft at all. They're jagged, sharp-edged. At the scale of an insect, they become fragments, as dangerous as broken glass. Imagine walking barefoot across microscopic shards of glass. That's what an ant experiences. That's what a roach encounters when it walks across a thin layer of this powder. The mechanism is elegant in its simplicity. Insects have an exoskeleton, a hard outer shell that protects them. But that shell has one essential function. It must hold moisture in. It must maintain the creature's internal water balance. When those jagged particles scratch and cut through that waxy coating, the insect loses its ability to retain that moisture. The body dries out. Dehydration follows. The creature dies. Not from poison. Not from toxins entering the bloodstream. Simply from losing its ability to hold water. No chemical reaction. No clever biological trap. Just physics. Physics that hasn't changed in 4,000 years. And this is the part that makes the chemical pesticide industry nervous. Maybe angry? Maybe both. You can build resistance to poisons. A poison kills most of a pest population, but the strongest survive. Those survivors breed. Their offspring inherit the resistance genes. After enough generations, the spray that worked 10 years ago stops working. The industry has to develop new chemicals, new formulas, new products, new sales cycles. But you cannot build resistance to being scratched by glass. A creature cannot evolve thicker skin than a razor-sharp edge that simply tears through whatever it touches. There is no biological workaround. There is no mutation that grants resistance to microscopic cuts. This is why the same powder your great-grandfather kept in his granary works today exactly as it worked in 1923. Exactly. Same powder, same results. No formula changes needed. No new products to buy next year. The Amish farmers I know do not rotate pesticides. They do not need to. A $4 bag lasts for years if you store it properly. Kept dry, it never loses its power. A chemical spray loses effectiveness on a schedule. Resistance builds. The company knows this. They count on it. They need you buying new products, new applications, new service calls. This is what I want you to understand about why you have not heard of this. It is not because the powder is new. It is not because it is unsafe. It is not because it does not work. It is not in your mailbox because the exterminator industry and the chemical manufacturers have no financial reason to tell you about it. A $4 solution does not build a business. An $8,000 annual contract does. Before we continue, I need you to keep something in mind. If you want to understand the deeper mechanics of how this powder actually works, and all the ways to use it correctly without making mistakes, the complete guide I have put together breaks down every application method, every safety consideration, every pest type, and the exact techniques that work for each one. That guide is in the description and pinned at the top of the comments. It goes far beyond what a video can show you. The specific mixing ratios, the timing, the seasonal strategies. It is built on 20 years of documented use from families in my community. Now, the question most people ask me is this: if it is so safe, so cheap, so effective, why do I need to be careful with it at all? Why not just dump it everywhere? The answer is simple. It works too well. That same property that kills insects is completely different for a human or an animal. To us, it is harmless dust. You cannot be harmed by it the way a bug is harmed. Your skin is thick. Your outer layer is not the delicate, waxy coating an insect has. Ingesting a small amount will not poison you. The government allows it mixed directly into grain for animal feed. But, and this matters, you do not want to breathe it in large quantities as fine dust. When it becomes airborne in large concentrations, it can irritate your lungs the same way any fine dust can. Flour dust irritates lungs. Talc powder irritates lungs. So does diatomaceous earth if you inhale large amounts. This is not a chemical reaction. It is not toxicity. It is simple particle irritation. The same way sand in your eyes bothers you, but sand itself is not poisonous. The solution is straightforward. When you apply the powder, wear a simple dust mask, the kind you can buy at any hardware store for $2. Apply it when the air is still, not on a windy day. Let it settle before you move through that space heavily. If you are using it in a chicken coop, apply it in the evening when the birds are roosting and you can close the coop for a few hours. If you are dusting a grain bin, do the work early morning when there is no air movement inside the building. That is truly all the precaution you need. Not complicated, not expensive, not something that requires a professional license or a white truck and a hazmat suit. The second thing people ask is about storage. Where do you keep it? How long does it last? Can it go bad? Diatomaceous earth lasts indefinitely if it stays dry. That is the only requirement. Dry. A sealed bag in a cool garage will remain exactly as effective 50 years from now as it is today. But moisture is its enemy. If the powder gets wet, the particles clump. They lose that sharp-edged structure. The powder becomes inert, useless. Dust that looks the same but kills nothing. This is why the Amish keep their supply in the driest part of the barn or house. Some families use small cloth bags with a tie at the top, stored in a sealed glass jar. Others keep bags in a cabinet with a packet of silica gel to absorb any ambient moisture, but most simply keep a bag or two in a dry corner and replace them when needed because they cost so little. The third question is the one that reveals what people really want to know. They ask me, if this works so well, why is my neighbor still paying the exterminator $800 a year? The answer sits in that white truck. It sits in the economics of visibility. An exterminator pulls up to your house once a month. He walks the perimeter in his uniform. He carries equipment. He leaves a receipt. You see the service happening. You see the bill. You see proof that something was done on your behalf, and for that proof, you write a check. Diatomaceous earth does not work that way. You buy it once. You apply it yourself in 20 minutes. Nothing visible happens. No truck arrives, no uniformed technician, no monthly invoice. To your neighbor, it feels like nothing occurred at all. If the pests don't return, he assumes the credit belongs to whatever service he is already paying for. not to the powder he forgot he applied 3 months ago in the corner of the basement. The pest control industry in America is a $17 billion business. $17 billion. That money does not flow to one-time fixes. It flows to recurring subscriptions, monthly visits, seasonal treatments, contract renewals. The economic model depends on your neighbor calling back next spring, and the spring after that, and the spring after that. A $4 bag of powder breaks that model entirely. Before we continue, I want to circle back to something that matters for understanding the full picture here. The mechanisms of how diatomaceous earth actually functions. The specific reasons it works on insects that modern pesticides are becoming less effective against, the storage methods that preserve its potency for years, and the detailed safety protocols for families with children and pets. All of that is covered extensively in the Forgotten Roots Survival Guide that I've published. It goes far deeper than what we can cover here because there are patterns and details that change how you use this knowledge in your own home. You'll find the guide in the description and pinned at the top of the comments. It's a comprehensive resource, not free, and it's worth your time if you want to actually implement this. The whole industry was built on a promise. After World War II, chemical companies had factories full of synthetic pesticides developed for military purposes. The war ended. The factories needed customers. Advertising campaigns launched across America. The message was simple. Modernity equals hiring professionals. Keeping your home pest-free meant calling someone in a uniform. It meant trusting the science of chemistry. It meant being modern, civilized, progressive. Diatomaceous earth was already in use. Indigenous peoples had understood it for centuries. But it wasn't modern. It wasn't profitable at scale. So it was forgotten, or rather, it was never allowed to become famous in the first place. This is what my grandfather understood. He lived through the transition. He saw the white trucks arrive. He watched his neighbors adopt the new services. And he kept his bags of diatomaceous earth because it worked, and because he didn't need a company to approve his choices. His generation didn't outsource everything. They didn't assume that paid services were superior simply because they cost money and required credentials. Here is what frustrates me about this situation. A family can save $800 a year, sometimes $1,200, by using this powder. Over a decade, that is tens of thousands of dollars. Not into corporate profit margins, but into their own savings. And yet, because the solution is not advertised, because it is not sold by men in uniforms, because it is not part of the modern service economy, most people never consider it. They continue the monthly subscriptions. They continue the cycle. The powder costs $4. It solves the same problem as an $800 annual service. The math is not complicated. What makes it hard is that our culture has trained us to trust complexity over simplicity, to value the visible over the effective, to measure quality by cost rather than by results. If it was expensive, we would believe in it more. This is the part where most people hesitate. They think, if it is so good, why do not all the farmers use it? Why is it not in every hardware store window? The answer is distribution. The exterminator industry has built its entire business model around recurring visits, recurring bills, recurring dependency. A product you buy once every few years does not generate that revenue stream. A service you cannot cancel generates it forever. Insurance companies know about diatomaceous earth. Agricultural extension offices know. Feed suppliers know. Amish farmers know. But the pest control industry, the industry that funds the advertising you see, that sponsors the home improvement shows, that places the trucks on your street, that industry has every reason to keep the secret quiet. Before we continue further, I need to pause here for a moment. What I am about to show you, the specific ways to apply this, the exact places where it works, the mistakes that will make it fail completely, all of that is covered in full detail in the survival guide I have put together. It is not free. It is a resource I spent months building, and it is available through the link in the description. If you want to know not just what diatomaceous earth is, but the complete system for using it alongside other old methods your ancestors relied on, that guide shows you every step. Now, application. And this is where precision matters. Diatomaceous earth only works when it is dry. This is the first rule and the most critical. If moisture gets into the powder, the sharp edges clump together. The mechanism breaks. A rainy day, a wet basement, a room with high humidity. In those places, the powder does nothing. Amish farmers understand this because they have seen it fail, and when it fails, it teaches them something. They learned not to dust the chicken coop on the morning after rain. They learned not to apply it in the basement during spring thaw. They learned to keep it in sealed containers, away from the damp. The second application rule is placement. You do not dust your entire house. That would waste the powder and expose your family to unnecessary dust inhalation. Instead, you place it where the pests travel, along the baseboard, in the corners where walls meet, under the sink, behind the refrigerator, in the cracks of the pantry shelves. The beetles that eat your stored grain do not wander randomly. They follow the same highways every night. Ants do not invade from everywhere at once. They find one entry point and march in a column. Find those highways. Dust them lightly. Light is the word. A thin dusting. Not a pile, not a thick coating. Thin enough that you can still see the shelf underneath. This is counterintuitive to people raised on the idea that more chemical means more protection. More poison means faster death. But diatomaceous earth works differently. A creature only needs to cross the powder once, to walk through it, for the damage to be done. The sharp fragments cut through the waxy coating on contact. A thick application wastes product. A thin application is all you need. Reapplication happens roughly every 2 weeks in dry seasons, every 3 to 4 weeks if the season is drier. If it rains, or if the area gets wet, you replace it sooner. An Amish farmer in Lancaster County might apply it once in spring, then again in late summer, before the pantry moths arrive. That is often sufficient. In warmer climates with longer pest seasons, the schedule changes. But the principle stays the same. Keep it dry, keep it in the paths, reapply when moisture compromises it or when you see pests returning. One more critical safety point. Diatomaceous earth is safe to breathe in small amounts, the same reason it is approved for grain storage. But in large quantities, inhaling the fine dust can irritate lungs over time. When you apply it, do not create clouds. Do not blow it around. Open a window. Use a small applicator, not a powder duster that broadcasts it everywhere. Take 15 minutes, do the job carefully, and you are done. The dust settles, the powder dries, and then it sits there, waiting for weeks. This is what the chemical industry will not tell you. Once applied and dry, diatomaceous earth requires almost nothing from you. No monthly visits, no phone calls, no inspections, no upselling. You apply it, you forget about it, and it works. Here is the secret I promised you at the beginning. The reason the exterminator will not knock on your door and tell you about this powder. The reason your county extension office does not advertise it. The reason you have never seen it on the shelves of a grocery store, even though it has been in barns and pantries for over a century. It is not because diatomaceous earth does not work. It works. My family has used it for generations. Amish farmers across Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana use it. It kills every major pest that destroys crops and invades homes. One $4 bag lasts months. It does not build resistance. It does not harm soil. It does not poison groundwater. A child can play in it. A dog can roll in it. You can eat it yourself, and you would only taste dust. The secret is that it eliminates the reason the chemical industry exists. An exterminator makes money when you call him back. Month after month, year after year. His profit depends on your problem never quite disappearing. If you solve the problem yourself for $4, he loses a customer. Not for a year, for life. That is not a small loss when you multiply it across thousands of homes. The fertilizer companies sell nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and they sell them by the ton because you must buy again next season. They build entire marketing departments around your dependency. Diatomaceous earth requires none of that. You buy one bag, sometimes you buy another bag 5 years later. That is it. The chemical companies employ lobbyists. They fund agricultural extension programs. They have the budgets to reach farmers and homeowners with slick advertisements and trial offers. They shape the conversation about what pest control means. A small mineral dug from the earth, harmless and permanent, does not fit that conversation. It threatens it. For a moment, sit with this. Your great-grandmother did not have a phone number to call when insects threatened her grain. She had a powder. Your great-grandfather did not sign a contract for monthly service. He kept a bag in the chicken coop and another in the granary. They passed this knowledge to their children. Somewhere along the way, we forgot it. We outsourced the problem. We paid for convenience. We paid for habit. The knowledge did not disappear. It survived in plain communities, where tradition and practicality mean something. where people still ask whether a solution works, not whether it is profitable to advertise. You do not need a service. You do not need a guarantee from a corporation. You need the knowledge that $4.15 of careful work can protect your home and your food for months. You need to understand that the simplest solution is often the one nobody profits from selling you repeatedly. This is what I want you to do this week. Not tomorrow. This week. Walk into a feed store, a garden center, or a hardware store. Find the diatomaceous earth. Read the label. Confirm it says food grade, not pool grade. Buy a bag. Spend 15 minutes identifying one place in your home where pests cause you actual trouble. The pantry, the basement corner, the garage shelf. Apply a thin dusting. Keep it dry. Then wait. Within 2 weeks, you will notice something. The ants will be gone. The roaches will stop appearing. The beetles will vanish. Not because you paid someone to visit. Not because you signed up for a service. Because a powder that costs less than a coffee did the work that an industry charges you thousands to promise. That is the knowledge your ancestors carried. That is what they knew. Not because they were smarter than we are, but because they had no choice but to solve their own problems. They did. And the solution is still here, waiting on a shelf for less than the cost of a gallon of gas. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you understand something your great-grandparents knew by heart, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss when we upload. Drop a comment below and tell me, what pest problem in your home do you want to solve? I read every comment and I want to know. See you next time.